Good morning, everybody. This is Lorraine
and Jennifer.
And this morning, remember that if you've got questions, if you're just hanging out watching us, say hello in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you and love to hear your comments on today's topic. Jen, we're going to talk about the perfect marketing, right?
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's the truth. And that's really why we called this episode No One Right Answer. Both Jennifer and I think we hear this question on a regular basis. What's the one thing I need to do? And how do you answer that?
Well, it depends. It's about data analysis. I think a lot of times we get these articles that are written, that are, from people's experiences with doing marketing, that this is how you do it and that's how you do it. And I think that's great and brave that they've put out that information, but that doesn't mean that it is universal and goes across to everybody. You have to look at your own metrics, and it gives you ideas of things to test. But it's not what you should do. It should be what you think. So more of not follow the leader, but look at your own data.
Well, and I think the data is one of the key elements. But I think the other thing is also your objectives. And the way I used to explain this, I know, hard to believe there was a day before the internet, but way back, even before I was doing digital marketing, if I was working with 2 heating and air conditioning contractors and they both had 10 employees, so you're like, okay, they're about the same size company, but one is in a major metro, one is in a small town serving rural communities. One had been in business for 25 years and had this huge database of former clients. One was really just starting out. And so those factors, even though the companies look very similar, they have very different objectives. And so one's trying to grow his service business where he gets renewal contracts every year. The other one's already got that. So messaging is very, very different, even though they're in the same industry.
Yeah, I think you can relate that back to business. Like, just, everybody is in different spots and everybody's on a different journey. And I preach this, like, even across like your digital marketing journey. And so there's 50 million ways to do something. Just because somebody did it one way doesn't mean it's going to be successful for you and what you want. So focus on what you want and then use it as inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, so you have to start with, what's your number one objective? Are you trying to, where are you in your sales funnel? Are you looking for lots of new leads? Are you looking for a better conversion process? Are you looking for repeat business?
Everybody says the leads. They want the leads. There's all these things that happen before that you have to look at. So identifying where at in the funnel that it's potentially wrong. We all want leads.
It's interesting because I just recorded a podcast that argues that it's not that you should ignore the top of the funnel, but that if you've been in business for any length of time, where you need to be putting your effort is in the middle and the bottom of the funnel. And by paying attention to existing customers and putting marketing dollars towards your referrals, your repeat business, what that allows you to do is almost bypass the marketing at the top of the funnel completely, because you don't have to stand on a street corner waving a sign saying, hey, I do this.
You're not brand new in business.
Yeah. But that doesn't work for everybody. You've got to, you have to know, do I have a strong enough base that I can start letting go of the top of the funnel?
Yep, yep, I can agree with that for sure.
So, what other criteria, like when you're looking at the metrics? So, I look at it from the before I even look at the numbers piece, this strategy piece. What am I trying to accomplish? What's my plan? Where do I want to go? But then, when you get into the numbers, what kind of clues will help you decide what kind of marketing you should be doing?
So top of funnel versus bottom of the funnel marketing.
Hmm. Yeah.
It depends on how wide the audience is. So, how many people, do you have to capture? How much have you captured? And then how many do you need down there? And it's very mathematical
Hmm.
on, how many people are here and getting them to the next step.
Hmm.
So, looking at the audience size.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say that there's another metric that I really love. And again, this is traditional marketing, but you can take a look at it from a digital perspective. I used to call it it's called the closing rate. And
Yeah.
it looks at what percentage of, if I put a qualified prospect in front of you, what percentage of time will you close them? Because if you close 1 out of every 10, you need a heck of a lot more leads than if you close 1 out of every 2.
And that's just conversion rate on a website,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes to that step right there offline. Because if it's a lead generation website, it doesn't close there. You've just got to get them to the lead. And
And
they're not just going to fill it out because you have a form on your website.
no, and the truth is that if you look at that, if you look at your conversion rate or your closing rate, and stop worrying about, I mean, you have to worry about how people got there, but really dive into when does somebody convert, when don't they? In the real world, I would look at, when I get a phone call that says, "Hey, I found you on Google," that isn't nearly as valuable as a phone call that says, "Bob told me to call you." Okay.
Hmm.
So I could qualify the leads. In the digital world, I think it's, oh, look, traffic that comes from Google ads is more qualified than traffic that comes from a Facebook ad. And so
Yeah.
you can do that same calculation and start figuring out, oh, I need to spend more money there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's because people at Google Ads are directly searching for what you have to
Mhm.
offer. But if they don't already know who you are, then those can be more expensive.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's where the data comes in, but it comes in looking at not the ad itself, but how good are you once you have that potential prospect.
On your website, have you already handled the objections that are commonly asked? Is all that information clearly there to where when they get over to the salesperson that maybe you can shorten that funnel?
Mm-hmm. And also, it's the user experience on the page. You know, um, I talk about how, in the real world, how good is your salesperson? How good are you as a salesperson? Digitally, how good is your website?
How
You
long did it
know?
take to load? Like offline, you're like, how long did you have to put somebody on hold? Same thing for
Mm-hmm.
the website. They're not going to wait. And people are
Mm-hmm.
super like, I want everything now.
Absolutely. I used to, when I was running Round Peg, we had a rule that phones got answered on the first ring, and you always got a live person during business hours. And I can't tell you how many projects we got because the phone conversation started with, "Oh my God, you answered your phone."
Yeah. That's probably very true today too. Like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, I can talk to a live person.
Yes, yeah, and a live person who knows what's going on and can speak to, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No universal rules.
there's I think the bottom line is, what do you have to do for marketing? It depends on your goals. It depends on how you're doing now.
And where you're at
And
with the business.
mhm. So if you're looking for more help on this, if you want someone to help you set some of your metrics, definitely talk to Jen and her team at Elevated Marketing Solutions.
Yes, and I know there are tons of, I think you're going to put a link in here at digitaltoolbox.club of some metrics that are good for you to look at.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.
Bye.